everyone, welcome. I'm Henry Wildberry, and today we are going to be building another rear rack. So let's get in our rack building suit and let's begin. Okay, so we're just back now from our trip up to Oregon, and I have a few things I want to do differently on this new bicycle rack. So I have two racks I've built. These are the first two racks I've ever made. And here's the one that I just took off of Miss Cool's bike. Here, come on in a little closer. Here, why don't you come on up here and get a little bit closer look. So this is the rack. This is the rack I built for Miss Cool's, and it's a 1/4-inch diameter tubing, stainless steel. It's very thin walled. It's 0.28-inch wall thickness. And it's very, very light, very flexible and very light. And there was a few things I did on this rack that I'd like to change now for her new rack going forward. The main differences are going to be the length of the top. The top here, we're going to shorten it up a little bit. And we are going to move the rack forward a little bit as well. When I built this rack, this was rack number 2. And I moved the platform back thinking that that would provide a little more heel clearance for the panniers, and discovered during the ride that it just wasn't necessary. And so I want to bring it back in, I want to tighten it up a little bit, and I want the rack to look nice. The other thing I want to change is with this vertical strut here. I ended up reinforcing this lower piece right here. I don't know if you can get a good look at that. But I reinforced this area here with another piece of steel to help prevent this section of the strut from bending. So if you think of this as like a truss, wherever you have the points of connection of a truss, you want them to be linear through a work point, a common work point. Otherwise, you end up inducing some type of bending moment, bending stress in the material, and over time that can cause fatigue, or it could actually overload it enough where you would actually bend or even possibly break this other tube. So to make it stronger and to make it last longer, what I'd like to do is use a longer piece and weld it closer to the point of where it mounts onto the rear dropout. And then the last thing I want to do is use larger diameter tubing. This is 1/4-inch diameter. And I ordered some new tubing to build this rack using 5/16-inch diameter tubing. And this is the same wall thickness as the other tubing, it's just that it's a little bit larger diameter. And because of that extra diameter, we've significantly increased the stiffness and the strength of the tube with only a small weight penalty. So for this next rack, we're going to give this a try. This is stainless steel A304. It is also seam welded, and so it's fairly affordable tubing. And for where I'm at right now in my my rack building experience, using cheaper tubing is a benefit to me, since I'm going to probably be making quite a few racks as I learn better techniques along the way. So for now, we're going to do this one for Miss Cool's bike, and then we're going to be building another rack eventually for this bike. And I'll probably build a rack for all my bikes, and I want to build a front rack next at some point. Maybe next, we'll see. So anyway, let's get going on this rack, and I'm not going to do the whole thing like I did last time. I'm just going to kind of jump ahead just to significant points of departure from the last video. I'll try to cover that as well as I can on this video, and then show the finished product at the end. So this was the other rack, and it is still on the bike. This was the first rack I built. I talked about this in a video as well when we did the Tahoe Rim Trail. So I went with a rack that has, more or less a smaller platform on the top, a little wider but a little shorter. And I like the length of this platform, and I like the width of the other rack. So I want to make one that's like this one, but a little bit narrower. So for this rack, I want to go back to the shorter platform. So the platform length is going to be 9 inches long. This one I think was 10 inches. Yeah, 10. Okay, here's the top. I went ahead and bent it to these dimensions, and that is what it's going to look like. Now for scale, might be a little narrow, but whatever. We'll see. Let me put it on the bike and let's take a look. Here like that. So the length looks good. That might be a little tight. There's plenty of tire clearance here. Definitely not a problem. I would kind of wish I would have gone a little bit wider, maybe a 1/2 inch, but 4.5 inch would have been better. Because of the fact that I made this only 4 inches, I think I want it to be a little bit wider. I looked at it with the panniers on and it seems a little bit narrow. So what I did is I cut out this section here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to remove that section and we're going to make one continuous piece. We're going to make this piece here, the one that goes to the frame mounts, one continuous piece all the way from here and around. So this is what I want to do. What I like about this design, besides that it just looks nice, it's also, you know, it's unique. I like that it will have a little bit of curve to it compared to this, which is just kind of boring. That's a little bit more interesting. We are just now finishing up here on rack number 3, and I'd like to do an official weigh-in. But before we do, let's just get one little look at it here, a little close-up of the finished product. Of the top with the extra curve we built in. I think that came out very nice, in my opinion. I shortened up these from the last rack so that the platform will be closer to the front of the, or closer to the seat tube. And finally, we need to do our official rack weigh-in here. All right, everyone, put in your guesses in the comments here. I'm gonna go with 395 grams. So here we go. Wow, 383 grams. And if you remember the other rack we built for Miss Cool's, well, I don't know if I actually weighed Miss Cool's rack that I built, the other one. I know I weighed the first one I made. So that one's 323. This is the 1/4 inch diameter tubing. And then this is the official, this is the 5/16 official weigh-in, 383. And why not the off-the-shelf one here is 785, 84. But it wouldn't be totally fair to weigh this without the mounting screws. I think that is important, so let's throw those on. All right, let's just throw some screws in here. Aha! So with the screws, it turns out to be 401, but I have these extra nuts and stuff because Miss Cool's bike didn't have the braze on, so I think it's a fair weight. So if you want to go with a heavier duty rack with 5/16 inch tubing, and you want to be able to carry more load, you're looking at 400 grams. So, all right, let's see what it looks like on the bike. Well, the next thing I guess we should do is check the heel clearance with the bags on to verify that we have adequate heel clearance with panniers. Now Miss Cool's does run a smaller size pannier, so they aren't the big balloonus. They are not the big puffy ones that you see on a lot of touring bikes. They're definitely on the smaller end. Yeah, I have pretty big feet, so if mine clear, then definitely Miss Cool's feet will clear. What if I'm going to center the ball of my foot on the center of the pedal, and I have a size 11 shoe. So, I don't know, looks good to me. I think it's going to be fine. All right, everyone, that's going to conclude the video. I want to thank all of you for watching. And before I go, I will say, if you are interested in a rack, whether it's a front rack, or a rear rack, I would highly recommend you give John Fitzgerald a call at Fitz Cycles out of Santa Rosa, California. He is a professional bike frame builder, and he builds all kinds of custom racks, much nicer than the ones I'm making, and I can't recommend him enough. Now, of course I'm not, one more time, I cannot recommend John Fitzgerald enough. He's Fitz Cycles out of Santa Rosa, California. I'm not sponsored, and I accept no payment for any referrals whatsoever. He does incredible work, so I'd highly recommend checking out his website. I'll put a link in the description. But until the next time, thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video.